and give it to that individual as an Easter egg gift, but also as a possibility for a new way of looking at life. And that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about this morning. So I thought I'd fill you in on what I've been doing for the past couple of years since I departed your company. I'm with my family. You know, that's the primary reason why I left. And I'll tell you what, I don't regret that, because I'm with my former wife, who is my dear, dear friend, and our two children, my son, my daughter. My son has a wonderful lady in his life now, and we're all rejoicing over that. And my daughter and her husband and my granddaughter are residing. Everybody's within less than 20 minutes of where I live, so I can easily access them, and we get together frequently. You may remember in 2011 when I carried my now 14-year-old granddaughter down the aisle at 411, she has blossomed into a beautiful and talented young lady, and I knew she was a big part of the reason why I needed to go back. But I have really had that revealed to me in an even deeper way, because this young lady is completely and totally, undeniably out of the box. We were talking last week about boxes. She doesn't even know what a box is. And she has some influences in her life that don't really encourage the free expression of her authenticity. And if I'm not there for any other reason, it's there to continually affirm that she can be whatever she needs to be, wants to be, whatever she is. And she has my full and undying support. So that in itself is worth being there. I'm also speaking a lot, much more than I anticipated, and I'm writing a lot. And when I left here, I was planning to write a book on something I spoke to you about many times, valuable living. I started to get into that process. Put this thing over here. And I got this message from Spirit that said, you're writing about the wrong thing. You're writing about what you've been, who you've been, what you've done. Valuable living is a part of your past. You're not in the present moment, and you're not allowing who you are right now and what you're evolving into to express. So everything began to shift. I was totally surprised and shocked, and I had a little grief when I let the valuable living model go. And I'm not saying it's gone forever, but it has evolved in what I now refer to as authentic living. And that's what I want to talk to you about this morning. I'm also weathering winter. I was walking around real cocky the first two winters because it's like, hey, man, I can handle this, because they were pretty mild winters. But this last one was like the universe saying, aha, you really think you got this down, do you? It was like, I don't know. It seemed like 6 inches of ice, and then on top of that was a foot of snow, and on top of that was another 6 inches of ice. And thank God I have friendly neighbors, because I don't know how to deal with this anymore. I was 21 years in South Florida. What is this stuff coming down out of the sky? But I am also savoring spring and admiring autumn, and I'm really appreciating the four seasons. They're keeping me on my toes, you know. And I did survive 45 years of my life in Kansas City before I came to South Florida. And in the summertime, I just lay by the pool and pretend I'm in Miami. You may remember that I don't ever like to stand up here as some kind of religious authority and tell you what to do, because frankly, I'm taking one step at a time, just like you. But I do like to offer proposals, and that's what I'm going to do this morning. So just know that these are proposals, and they're proposals that are born out of my own life experience. I share them in the hope that they will inspire you to live in integrity with your life experience as an authentic spiritual being. But you are welcome to disagree with me, completely welcome, and you're welcome to agree. I'm just here to offer them to you, and I hope that's beneficial. Only accept what resonates in your heart. You, my friend, are responsible for creating your own religion. You cannot go to any external authority and ask to be guided in terms of what you should believe. Beliefs will come to you, ideas will come to you. If you're open-minded, that's even better. Receive them, but don't cling to them. Don't ever cling to them, but don't hold them and don't embrace them in your consciousness unless they resonate in your heart. This is the spirit of the unity movement. There's a letter to the unity teaching, but there's a spirit to the unity movement. And our co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, more than 100 years ago, were brave spiritual pioneers. And they carved their own way in terms of spiritual understanding. And they offered it to others because others asked for it. But in no way is this a place, and I think it's still true today, where you are expected to just blindly accept some ideas and beliefs because somebody stands up as a religious authority and says, well, I know more than you do, and I'm like closer to God. That's all BS. The truth is, you're the one that has to determine that. So can we go into this time this morning understanding that you're responsible for creating your own belief system, in essence, your own religion, and that is supported and applauded. Okay? Good. So, my beloved Unity on the Bay family, how are you doing? How you doing? How's it going? These are tumultuous times, are they not, that we're waltzing through right now? I don't remember it ever being like this before, and I thought COVID was as insane as it could get. But the universe is saying, ha-ha, prove you wrong. I know people who are grateful. I know people who are angry. I know people who are hopeful. And I know people who are terribly afraid. And I have been in every one of those categories over the past several months. I love these words from Laurie Deschênes, who's an author. She says, and I grew up in Unity, so these words are very reassuring to me. You don't have to be positive all the time. It's perfectly okay to feel sad, angry, annoyed, frustrated, scared, or anxious. Having feelings does not make you a negative person. It makes you human. And there's a beauty in that. So, as challenging as it may be, what we're walking through right now, I want you to know that I honor whatever you might be feeling this morning. It's accepted and it's embraced here. Be whoever you need to be, and know that every feeling that you have in some way is offering you an invitation to grow closer to the authenticity that I'm going to speak about this morning. At the same time, I also want to honor the idea that there are many ways that we can look at events in the world right now. And I also want to honor that we're free to choose our interpretation of what we see happening around us. I believe, and this is the first proposal, take it or leave it, that personal, national, and global events are each and every one a call to greater spiritual awareness. Everything that's happening out here, it's a call to increase your spiritual awareness. The Greek philosopher Epictetus says, we don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. Take that in for a minute. We don't see things as they are. We see them as we are the interpreter. We're the translator of everything that's going on out here. So I believe that the call from the universe right now is to look very carefully at the identity that we are accepting for ourselves. And the most important question we can ask ourselves is, who am I? Not what did somebody else tell me I am, not what was I conditioned to believe I am, but really, who do I think I am? And it's important to know the identity that we accept for ourselves, and that we can change that identity anytime we choose. We're free to decide whatever we want to be, however we want to show up. Why is that self-identification so important? A Course in Miracles, and I have my guru for A Course in Miracles in the front row, who's going to share with me tomorrow night as well, Kevin Rice. Glad to have you back at Unity on the Bay, my friend. Yeah. Course in Miracles says this, what I see witnesses to what I think. Let me look on the world I see as a representation of my own state of mind. I know that my state of mind can change, and so I know the world I see can change as well. How many of you want to see change in the world right now? Do you think for a minute it's going to happen due to the efforts of somebody else other than yourself? Do you think it is possible for things outside of you to change until you yourself, as the interpreter of all events, have changed your own mind? In Unity, we call it simply, as within, as without. The content of my consciousness is producing my experience of the world outside of me. Now, I personally believe that the whole of everything can't be anything more or less than the sum of its parts. So the question I want to ask you, and it's not something I don't ask myself every morning when I get up, what is it that I want to pour into the collective consciousness of humanity? Because, again, take it or leave it, I think that what we're seeing is the sum total, by spiritual principle, it's the sum total of the individual contributions that each and every one of us are pouring in. And it's not on some great grand scale, it's the little details of life. It's the little reactions. It's those little moments when we fall into victimization. And we're contributing things that are not authentic to the spiritual nature of who we are. It can be no other way, my friends. What we're experiencing out here, I believe, is the sum total of what every one of us is holding in our individual consciousness. And if we don't like it, the only effective way to change it is to change the content of our own consciousness. The good news is, I think that's what we came here to do. The Russian writer Leo Tolstoy says, "Everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself." If he would change, if she would change, if it would change, if they would change, it'd be okay. You're the one that has to change. I'm the one that has to change. And we were created to change. We can change our perspective. We can change our understanding. We can change our identity. Life coach J. Mike Fields says, heal yourself. It heals the collective. Did you get that? Heal yourself. It heals the collective. It's the most unselfish thing you can do for your family, community, and the world. And I propose to you this morning, it ain't going to happen any other way until I get a handle on what I'm pouring into that collective consciousness. And I think the most effective way to heal yourself is to change your idea of who and what you think you are. Now, it seems as though there are an infinite number of definitions we could put on ourselves. Happy, sad, whatever it might be. But I really believe at the end of the day, it boils down to two different options or choices that we have. We can choose to be authentic. We can choose to be inauthentic. Now, as I'm writing this new book, and this has been true from the beginning of my retirement writing career, I have wanted to avoid religious and spiritual terminology. In unity, we would simply call this the Christ or the ego. But what I'm phrasing it as this morning is authenticity and inauthenticity. Even with ego and Christ, we have a tendency to say, well, it's me and it's God. It's me and it's the ego. And what I'm saying is duality is rapidly coming to a close. This is about whether or not I am bringing forth my authentic nature or my inauthentic nature. And here's a real important thing to remember. None of this that I'm sharing with you has to do with being right or wrong or good or bad. That's a human judgment, the level of human judgment. Nothing right now that you're expressing as is right or wrong or good or bad. It just is. The thing is that authenticity expresses very differently than inauthenticity. Authenticity expresses in a way that is providing or accommodating a very different experience. So it's not right or wrong or good or bad, it's just you're going to have one experience or the other, an authentic experience or an inauthentic experience, or in unity lingo, a Christed experience or an egoic experience. And I think that the universe right now seems to me is really calling us all up to a higher level of authenticity. Most people live, myself included, from an inauthentic identity. It's something we've been conditioned to believe in. Don Miguel Ruiz refers to it as the human domestication, our conditioned nature. It plays in the projection out here instead of with the projector in here. It's an imposter. My son likes to call it a video game character, a virtual reality character. We've created this character and we got so enthralled in the video game that we think we're that character. But we're not. That's inauthenticity. And inauthenticity creates an inauthentic experience. On the other hand, we can choose to live from an authentic identity, which at its core has to do with being loving. It plays in the projector that's in your consciousness as opposed to the projection outside of you. It's a perfect cosmic design. It's your original blueprint, if you will. It operates in liberation as opposed to victimization. So pretty much anytime you think you're feeling like a victim, you can be rest assured that you're in an inauthentic state. Again, not good, not bad, just two different experiences. There's a Buddhist saying, your mind will always believe anything you tell it. Feed it hope, feed it truth, feed it love. Your authentic nature is always going to bring on the qualities of appreciation, praise, peace, kindness, understanding, compassion, and open-mindedness. I don't know how many times I said from this very platform when I was here, never, ever, never make up your mind. Don't do it, because the moment you make up your mind, you're in a box, and you've eliminated all other possibilities. So open-mindedness is a key to authenticity, and it is something that inauthenticity treasures dearly. Qualities of inauthenticity are criticism, complaint. Find yourself complaining, criticizing. Not good, not bad, not right, not wrong. It's just inauthentic, and it creates an inauthentic experience. Conflict, attack, accusation, insensitivity, closed-mindedness. So the most important thing I think that we can do right now, my dear friends, and I love so many of you so much, the most important thing we can do is be aware of when we are entangled in inauthenticity. And it happens all the time. I'll share a story with you called The Adventure of Miami. Yeah. How can you hear that and not laugh, huh? Well, I've been away for 2.5 years, and I suddenly remembered Sunday evening after we had that wonderful celebration of the new property, and Carmen and I went over to the Daily to get a cup of coffee, and when we stepped out, there's like a gap if you're over there at the Daily. When you step out, you have to get into the parking lot, so you have about a 6-foot distance there, and what was happening was torrential rainfall. And I didn't have an umbrella, and hers were, fortunately she had 2, they were in the car, but I knew I'm about to be baptized in a big way. So we both tore across there, but became soaking wet. I mean, I don't know, 6 to 9 inches of water. These shoes just dried out like Friday, I think it was, that I can wear them, because they're the only shoes I have. So we did that, and then I was still perplexed, like I don't know what to do, because I was supposed to have dinner with Eddie, and it was still just pouring down rain, and she said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you the key or the pass to get into the offices, Unity on the Bay offices at 28th and Biscayne, and you can go dry out there until your dinner with Eddie. So I drove over there, and that was an adventure in itself, but what I didn't realize is since I left, they have put a lake behind the office building at 28th, and I'm serious, I was just, at this point, soaking wet from top to bottom. And I felt horrible that I had to call Eddie and say, not only am I wiped out from my travel and everything, but I am literally soaking wet. Now, I'd like to tell you that all through that experience, I was just saying, I am the Christ presence. But I didn't do it. Instead, words were flying out of my mouth that I'm not about to share with you from this platform this morning. Then I went to visit my dear friend Kevin Rice in West Palm Beach Tuesday morning. I'm driving back, I get to Del Rey, there's Atlantic Avenue, and all of a sudden, boom, my right rear tire blows out on 95. And it's boom, and I started shaking, like, what the, Again, I was not being authentic. But I did have the wherewithal, and this is the key point, my friends, to catch yourself when you're going there. Catch yourself when you're going down that inauthentic path as soon as you can. And you get better and better at this. I didn't do too well in the torrential rainfall, to be quite honest. But I did better. I was more rested. That helps. And so I just closed my eyes. And I took a breath, and I said, I really am calling upon my authenticity to raise me to a higher state of consciousness. Anyway, I opened my eyes, and I was almost to the bottom of the ramp for Atlantic Avenue. And you go see it for yourself. There's this huge sign that says, tire store. So there I go, with this flat tire to the tire store. I walk in, I'm starting to tell this guy behind the counter what happened to me. I'm still shook up, and I look at his name tag, and it says, I kid you not, Angel. Angel. Now, you can say, well, that was all just circumstantial. It could have happened to anybody. I don't know about that. And so I freaked him out. I said, you are not just named angel, you are an angel. And he was like, okay. Give me 45 minutes and I'll have a new tire on your car. And they said, will you please go write a Google review for us? Because I was just going on about, well, you're named angel, but you're all angels, and all of you out here in the garage are angels too. Then I threw in, I'm a minister, folks, so, give me a break. Oh, yeah. And here's the thing. Course in Miracles tells us, what could you not accept if you but knew that all events, past, present, and to come. I love this. I'm a little emotional because of the state of the world right now. What could you not accept if you but knew that all events, past, present, and to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good? Can we do that right now? Can we actually say to ourselves, everything that's happening has been gently planned by one whose only purpose is our good? Hear me again, friends. According to your belief, it will be done unto you. So if we believe it, if we believe all events are gently planned, I just love that. My notes got messed up. But it's time for me to get wrapped up here anyway, so here's the good news. If you want the rest of the story, you have to show up tomorrow night at 2800 Biscayne Boulevard at 6:30 p.m. for my workshop, okay? Because we're going to go more deeply into this, and we're going to look at how we can create a map, is what I call it. A map so that when we're in that inauthenticity, when the tire goes flat, when the rain is falling in your life, you have a map you can grab. It's a list of your spiritual practices that have proven to be most effective for you, and put that into practice. We need that, and we need it ultimately to commit it to memory, you see, so that we don't have to think about it. From that state of authenticity, once you're there, never take action from inauthenticity, my friends. I just want to say that. It's not going to be helpful. What is helpful is for you to take action from authenticity, because there's nothing more powerful than authentic action anywhere on the planet. So get yourself in a state of authenticity. Now ask yourself, what are my gifts to give to the world situation, to the national situation right now, and begin to give them from, we don't need any more inauthenticity. That is what has gotten us into the experience that we're in. We don't need any more judgment. We don't need any more name calling. We don't need any more condemnation and criticism right now, because if you do that, you're bringing it down energetically. And your mission right now as spiritual pioneers is to lift it up. The writer and activist Adrienne Marie Brown says this, and I love this. Take it in, and if you can possibly grab hold of it and believe it, please do so. Things are not getting worse. They are getting uncovered. We must hold each other tight and continue to pull back the veil. See, it's time, friends. It's time. So how are you going to see yourself? How are you going to see what's going on in this crazy, and by the way, it's always been a crazy and insane world. Come on. It's just getting crazier, and that's to force us into a corner so that we have to wake up to our authenticity. The spiritual teacher Bashar says this. Now, again, take it or leave it, believe it or not. I believe it on a good day, not so much on my bad days, but I'm doing my best to embrace it completely because I think it's true. Even though your society appears to be breaking down and experiencing more chaos, we remind you that underlying chaos is hidden order, As the old way begins to crumble, a new vision of society will replace it. Your growing awareness of divine presence and the power of your own spirits are now a part of this new equation that will produce an outcome never before seen on earth. Friends, if we don't do it, no one will do it. You are entitled to a teaching and a way of life that gives you the ability to make this happen. This could be the greatest catastrophe on earth, or it could be the greatest opportunity the entire human race has ever been given. You make the choice, and I know how you're going to choose. God bless you.